everyone, and welcome back to the F-Series channel. Today we are going to be talking all things Ferrari, specifically their driver academy and what is next for the current young talents of Ferrari. We're going to be a little bit of a chat about who's where and where we think they're going to go in terms of their Formula 1 prospects. Before we get into the video, if you do enjoy it, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to our channel down below. But are you ready to talk about some juniors?
Yes.
Let's go. Okay, so firstly, I think we should talk about the main man of the moment, which is Mitch Schumacher. He is still a Ferrari junior and he is in the Haas Formula 1 team, current F2 champion. He is 22 years old from Germany. Where do we think he's going to go within this Ferrari realm? Do you think Ferrari going to take him? Do you think he's going to go somewhere else?
Ferrari.
Ferrari.
That's basic.
Right
That's a good one. Yeah.
But I do think Carlos is doing so well right now, it might be longer than we think.
Ooh.
Yeah.
No. Don't buy it.
I mean, this is the
When's
Schumacher now.
Carlos? So Carlos has got this year and next year?
Yep.
Yeah.
So 2023?
Yeah.
I mean, they promoted Charles after a year.
That's true.
But, yeah.
I think it just depends on how Mick takes, because obviously it's really difficult because the Haas is so awful, whereas the Sauber wasn't as bad. So I think it just depends on whether Mick feels like he needs, because if Mick's like, no, I need another year, which I can't really see him doing because it doesn't look great at the moment, then I think it just depends on what Mick really feels like he wants to do. And then it's like, whatever Carlos gets lumped with. What do you think?
I could see that, yeah. Sorry, I just don't have any hope for Ferrari to be nice to Carlos. I really...
Yeah.
I just don't see them keeping him past 2 years, and it's not because he's not a good driver, and it's not because he's not going to do well for the team. But Ferrari have so many juniors now; they're going to have to just take some of them for a little test drive. So why not bring Mick up if he's not performing in a couple of years? All right, we've got Bobby Schwartzman. Let's bring him up into the team. Let's do a swapperoo. You know, I don't know. That's just what I see happening. It's just Ferrari to me.
Yeah, Charlotte.
Yeah, I think I can go along with that really, because obviously there's everything about, Mick Schumacher, whose dad is Michael Schumacher. They want another Schumacher at Ferrari. Oh my god, first knowledge. But yeah, they want him there. So I would love to see Carlos stay, because I think that partnership with him and Charles is really good and it's working really well for them at the moment. But they want another Schumacher at Ferrari. So I could kind of agree with Steph. They're just going to be like, bye Carlos. Mick.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I do think he's going to get plopped up there, but how old Charles? Because they're going to have a really, really young team.
He's like 23,
Like,
24, isn't he?
Charles 22.
Yeah, I know Charles has been there a while now, but in terms of development and stuff as well, I don't know.
Are we talking about how old he is or how long he's at the team?
How
Because
old?
I think we're talking about two different things.
Well, I asked how old he was and then how long he's been at the team. He's not quite. I did a bit of both.
Okay. Me and Kira were talking about different things.
He's not 2 years old. But yeah, I'd just be a bit conscious as well. My contact is not in my eye anymore. I'd be a bit a bit conscious about having a really young driver pairing at Ferrari, especially considering they're a top tier team and they need lots of development and input to make sure that they retain third place in the championship and get back up to first.
Yeah. The only thing I would say with that, though, is they do have a young driver pairing at the moment and it's going really well. And then, once Mick would come up, Charles would be the same age as Carlos, and then Mick would probably be the same age as Charles is now, if that makes sense. So it kind of evens each other out. So I guess if this partnership goes well, then Mick and Charles one goes well. But anyway, moving on from Mick Schumacher, we have got his F2 rival from last year, Callum Milot. He is 22 years old and he is currently a Ferrari reserve driver, but he's racing in the GT World Challenge in Europe Endurance Cup. Very long. Obviously, we know Callum missed out on a Formula 1 seat at Haas or Alfa Romeo for this year. So what do you think Ferrari can do? They've kept him in the paddock. He's doing some reverse driver? How do you say that? Reserve driver.
Reserve
driver duties and, some testing and stuff. Do you think Ferrari can bring him back up into Formula 1, or is he just going to be in GT forever now?
I just don't personally see him coming back. I really do want him to come back, but I think right now they've got so many juniors in Formula 2 and Formula 3 that spot when Kimi finally retires or when Antonio gets dropped, but I think they need to put a fresh F2 driver in there, because if you look in F2, I know we're going to talk about them in a bit, but there's so many that could take that spot, which could then do a similar thing to what Mick will do when he goes up to Ferrari when Charles leaves. You know what I mean? I just don't think Callum's going to come back, and that's really sad because I think he, like, this year it would be nice to see him, but I just don't think he will.
Yeah, I 100% agreed. Like, F1 is so competitive at the minute, and there's so many drivers and so many drivers just like cementing themselves in teams that the spots need to be absolutely grabbed. And I do think he's just missed his chance through no fault of his own, but Mick was better and Mick's got more of a name, so Mick got the seat this year, and there was only one
and more money
seat up for grabs. Yeah. Moving on.
Money? Formula One? Never. I am kind of on a similar train, kind of on a different train. I did briefly touch on this in my 2022 driver predictions. If you haven't gone and watched it, go watch it.
All right. Not the
Shameless.
purpose of the video, is it?
I know I said I'd like to see Callum in the Alfa Romeo because he is doing the Alfa Romeo reserve driver role as well. He is also doing FP1 sessions. We saw him do an FP1 session with Alfa Romeo for First Austria. So he is still very integrated within Formula One. I don't think they'd have him doing test sessions if he wasn't a serious option. I think if Alfa decide to scrap their lineup next year, then Callum would be a good shout to get in the team. It's just whether, like, we're going to do a video on this as well in terms of what Alfa is going to do, because Alfa Romeo I think is the most unpredictable team for the 2022 season, so we are getting onto that. Just come back in a couple of weeks, we'll be talking about that. So yeah, I don't know whether, I think Callum is a decent shout. I could definitely see him coming back into Formula One next year. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or coming back, I mean coming to Formula One.
Coming. He's never been.
Move
Bless
on.
him. Yeah. Obviously, at Alfa Romeo, you've got one seat which is Ferraris and one seat is Alfa Romeo. So I guess another reason is it depends on what Teo Pacher does for Sauber, the Sauber Junior team. So obviously, we've got to remember Alfa Romeo is still Sauber. So it depends on whether he then takes Kimi's seat or whether, Ferrari keep Antonio Giovinazzi in that second seat, or if they bring up Bobby Schwartzman or bring in Callum Milot. We just don't know. But Callum Milot is a very interesting one, so do keep your eyes peeled on him. Next, we're going to go all the way to Australia. Well, he's probably racing in Europe, but we're going to go to...
All the way.
And we have got Ferrari's youngest and newest signing in James Wharton. He is currently still in karting and he's only 14 years old. So again, this is Ferrari's real future. Can you see them really nurturing him all the way to the top? Obviously, we don't know too much about him, but he's doing very well in karting. Can you see them really keeping him up and going to the top, or do you think that they're going to drop him? They're not going to give him an opportunity? What do we think?
I think
Ferrari don't drop the juniors, do they? They just keep them.
Yeah,
in.
I was going to say.
Keep coming. Join the team.
I think it's really difficult to talk about kids in karting because they're still really young and like they might fall out of love with it or they might just not want to do it anymore. But I mean, we've seen how they have been with their other juniors. Like Donnie says, they do just keep them on forever. So I think it'll be interesting. Like if they can get him an F4 spot, an F3 spot, like, I think he would be one to watch. Obviously, he's so young, so anything could happen. But I don't see why they wouldn't do the same for him that they have done for many of their other drivers.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Agree.
Yeah.
I think he's too young really to decide whether he's going to be a Ferrari driver, because we don't know how he's going to do the single seaters and stuff, and I'm sure Ferrari will be keeping the close eye, and so will Kira, because that's what she does.
That's what she does. I just follow all of them.
But yeah, I mean, come back, ask us in a couple of years what he's doing and how we see his career going, and I'll give you a better answer.
Fab, absolutely. We'll move up the grid a little bit more, and we will go to a younger star that you might recognise the surname of in FIA F3, and that is Archer Leclerc. He is 20 years old. He stepped up for Prema this year with FIA F3. Obviously, he's got that link to Charles, who is that main leader in the Ferrari camp right now. It all looks good for Arthur. What do you think?
I think.
Just how cute would it be if the brothers were just in the seats
Oh.
together? It would just be adorable, but it's never going to happen.
You don't know that. I'm quite positive about it.
Really?
I'm look at last weekend, the French Grand Prix weekend, and just watching him. Obviously, he went from like back of the grid to like P16 or something like that.
P12,
is mad. Like, yeah, like that's actually crazy. So he definitely has the talent. I think a lot of the time, like a lot of races I've seen, he's been quite unlucky with like his car or like something like that, like something out of his control. But I think when he fully puts his mind to it, like the French GP weekend for F3, that just shows that maybe he will just go up like Charles did. Like it's not that hot. Like I think you've got Ferrari's back in. Your brother is Charles Leclerc. Like you're gonna go somewhere.
Yeah, I think I don't know enough to comment properly, But I was just thinking, like, would you rather have your dad be a 7-time world champion and you're trying to get, like, follow in his footsteps? 7?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
Geordie. Oh,
Or would you rather have, like, your brother being the golden child of the moment and you're trying, like, obviously there's been a bit of time for Michael's legacy to, like, fade, and there's new fans who don't know Michael, as sad as it is to say, like, there is new Formula 1 fans who don't know Michael, but everyone knows Charles, so I'm like, who would you rather be? Would you rather be Arthur or Mick right now?
That is such an interesting point.
Yeah, that I didn't think about
I
that.
didn't
That's
even thought
actually
that.
a really good point, Donnie.
Oh god, poor boy. Anyway, right, well that's out to Leclerc. Poor boy, been a little bit of a downer there. Poor boy. Anyway, we're going to step away now to the only female in the FDA. Now, this was actually somebody who got brought up from the FIA Girls on Track movement that they done. They basically tested all the girls, rattled it down to the last one, and got a seat in the FDA. This is Maya Weg, I believe that's how you say her name. She's 16 years old. She is from the Netherlands, and she is racing in Italian F4. So I think her name has been brought up a lot in the last year or so, because we've been keeping a close eye on, what they were doing with these girls coming in. I think this is a really good shot for her. As we said earlier, the FDA do tend to keep on their drivers. They're not someone that will drop them like Red Bull or Renault or Alpine now. So overall, I think this might be a good place for her. What do you think?
I don't know.
Oh, she's laughing at you that door. You just tried to fix her contact.
Oh no, is it
I'm having
falling
issues
out?
too, I'm having issues.
Yeah, I feel positive about Maya. I don't necessarily love the way she got into the FDA, because I feel like it should be more done on kind of the merit of everyone. I wish that she'd been competing against, boys for it. I understand why the initiative's there. It's the same reason that FSeries is there. It's trying to get, female representation, and it's trying to create awareness and give females the opportunity and women the opportunity to get into racing. So
Yeah, but it gives her the financial backing, doesn't it? Which you probably wouldn't have otherwise. So I guess that's a good thing as well.
That's true. Yeah, that's really positive. So I'd love to see where she goes. I hope she does do really well. I'm excited to follow her career up the ladder. To say that she'll make it to Ferrari when there's so many competitive guys within the FDA at the minute is really difficult. I don't know if she'll ever make it that far. But that's not me being cynical because she's a woman. That's me being cynical because there is so much talent there and a lot of big names among her. So I'm a little bit worried that she's going to be swallowed by those big names and kind of fade into the background a little bit.
But you've also just
Maya.
You've just got to remember as well, it's not just about whether they're going to get all the way to Ferrari, it's whether they might bring up this, female. We haven't had a female in Formula 1 for like 44 years or something ridiculous. So it will actually be quite good to, even if they don't get her all the way to Ferrari, they might get her to Alfa Romeo, Haas, whoever is in Formula 1 at the time. We never know. I don't think Haas is going to be around that long. But they might get her into a junior program or like into a junior team. So you've got to remember that it's not necessarily aiming for that seat at Ferrari. It might be aiming for somewhere a little bit lower, but still on the grid.
That's exactly what I was gonna say, Kaz. I don't see her making it to a Ferrari seat, but like you said, like the Alphas or the Haas's, definitely a chance.
Mm-hmm. And I think the fact that she's still quite young as well really helps, because like when she does finally start to get into like the F1, F2 level, it might be different and we might have female racers, and I think it'll be a lot more inclusive, so she might actually have a shot, like you say, of getting an Alpha or getting a Haas seat. So I think age is definitely a positive for her as well.
Yeah, massively. I think if we have a talent coming up that is female, watch out because it could be her. Now, next we are flicking it over to FRECA, and we have got Dino Buganovic. He is Swedish. He's 17 years old, and what do we think he's going to do? I think Dino is one that's always been a name I think people knew. Even when he was like in F4, people always knew Dino Buganovic. I don't know what he was doing to get his name around, but he was. What do we think about his prospects? Obviously, he's still in FRECA. Then you would go to F3, F2. Do you think he can make up the ladder?
I'm going to say no, just because I feel like he's too far away.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there's so many steps that he needs to take to, like, make it to the top sort of 2 levels. So I'm going to say no, but I don't really know much about him. So he could, like, smash it out of the park, but I'm saying no.
Yeah, I think I also agree with Char. I don't think, it sounds really bad, but he is getting older now and he's not quite as far up the rungs as he probably should be if he's aiming for a Ferrari seat, but might just all switch it on and he might be there next year.
I don't know. I feel a little bit positive. I mean, he's in Freca now. What did you say, 17?
Yeah, 17.
So then he'll be 18. Say he makes it up to Formula 3 next year, hypothetically. Then he's 18 there. Then he goes up to Formula 2. 19. The famous Christian Lundgaard is currently 19 and is in his second year of Formula 2. So there's definitely opportunities for him to get up. I don't think Ferrari will cut him off just yet. I think they'll get him all the way up to Formula 2, like some of the other drivers who've made it all the way up to Formula 2 right now. I just think Ferrari like having a lot of options, and I think it's a good plan. Red Bull also do the same thing in having a lot of options. You'd rather sign, especially when you're Ferrari and you've got money to burn, you might as well sponsor all of these great junior drivers. If they don't have what it takes to make it to Formula 1, they don't. But at least you've got them all the way up the ladder. At least you've got them as options should you need them. So I think we'll see him make it all the way up to at least Formula 2.
I like that. Positive. Yeah, I agree, because I think...
Thank you.
Yeah, I think, I mean, Freca, he isn't at the top of Freca this year. You know, we've got some other names like Ijek Hadjar, we've got Paul Aaron up there, we've got Zane Maloney up there, but he's still there or thereabouts. You know, he's in the Premier, he's in a good seat. So this year, well, he definitely needs to get himself up there to be able to get that FIA F3 seat next year, but he probably will, because, as we've said, he's got the Ferrari backing. So it'd be very interesting to see how high he gets. He is a lovely guy, so personally one of my faves. So I'm rooting for him a little bit. But anyway, we're coming down to our final two, which we're going to talk about, because these are the two that are in F2 this year. We have got Marcus Armstrong and Robert Schwartzman. They are the ones that are, you would probably say, are the next to step up in terms of making it to Formula 1. Who do you think out of them two is most likely to make that step up, maybe next year or the year after?
Robert.
Yeah, but not as likely as I thought he was after his first year.
Yeah.
I don't think he's quite lit the world on fire this year.
I really agree with that, because I think I did a poll last year before F2 started and was like, who's going to be the person that really who really smashes it, and a lot of people said Schwartzman, and I was like, where there's all this hype, but where is he? Like, if you look at the top, like it was Callum and Mick, I was like, where's Bobby? Like, where is he? But I do really like him, though. So sorry.
But I do like him.
Yeah, I think that he's got a lot of potential. I think he's in the junior categories right now. I see Robert Schwartzman as, how do I even put this in a nice way? I think he's more likely than Mick to succeed in the Ferrari seat. That's how I see it. I think he's really, really talented, and it's not that I don't think Mick is talented, but I just see Robert Schwartzman is succeeding more in that environment and in that way. So I've got a lot of hope. I think Ferrari will bring him up next year. I do think he'll be in the Alfa Romeo. And then, I mean, it's kind of a direct comparison, really. You've got another one of your juniors in another of the teams. Bear in mind, it is a little bit worse, to be fair. The machinery is not quite up there. But you've got two of your juniors that you can directly compare and see who you want to jump into that seat. So I think that Robert Schwartzman will be up there. He had a rocky start to the Formula 2 season, but I feel like he's found his footing a little bit. Baku was a good weekend for him. So, I don't know. We'll have to see. I do think he'll be up in Formula 1 next year. I don't think Ferrari would let a talent like his slip away.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think both Marcus and Rob came in so strong from their F3 championships, and also even before that, people expected a lot more. Personally, you probably say that Marcus had a worse year in his first season and kind of carrying on this year. But Marcus, no chance then? What do you think?
I think he's just like Callum. I honestly do think he's just like Callum. Like, he's one of them ones that are like, okay, yeah, he's good. He could get a seat, but he probably won't. I don't know why I get this feeling about him, but I just feel like he won't make it.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, I think we're all
either needs to go to a different junior team that doesn't have as many juniors. Like, there's so many benefits of being in Ferrari and being a Ferrari junior, but there's so much competition, and that's the biggest downside. Like, yeah, they'll get you to F2, but you've got so much fight. Whereas if you can cement yourself into one of the other junior teams that doesn't have as much direct comparisons, you might arguably have a bit of an easier route into Formula 1.
Then there's less teams.
Yeah,
though.
I just think with Marcus is he's been struggling in Formula 2. So last year wasn't a strong season for him, even though we all expected so much. Because that first weekend last year in Austria was really strong for him, and then it just went downhill.
He was on the struggle bus from Austria, really.
He was on the
But
struggle bus.
he was
and it
in
looks
that
like he's
second
kind of on
ART.
the struggle bus a little bit this year as well. But I don't know. don't see him comparing to good old Bobby Schwartzman at the minute. Maybe I've got too much faith in Bobby Schwartzman. He's going to let me down eventually.
Yeah, I had that faith last year and look what happened, so don't hold your breath. Right, well, there we have it. That is our thoughts on the current not the rankings, the current drivers in the FDA and how we think they stand in actually getting their way up to Formula One and how much faith we actually have in Ferrari. Overall, I think Ferrari Driver Academy is quite positive. We actually spoke about them in a Ranking the Junior Academies tier list if you do want to check that out, so you can see more about our thoughts on other championships and other junior academies as well. But yeah, let us know in the comment section below what you thought about our video, whether you agree, disagree, who you are looking out for and who you think are going to be awful and going to get the sack. Probably not some of them, but maybe some of them. Like this video and subscribe to our channel, and we will be back again next week for another F-Series Friday. Bye!